2 a.m. net will be here in approximately 5 minutes, unless anybody else needs use of the frequency. KC9UDX net control. Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kcs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any stations wishing to check in, please come now.
KC9UDX. This is November 9 Charlie, X-Ray Kilo. It's Carol. Hi, Matt.
All right, got one so far. I thought we had a double there, but maybe not. It's just a brief intermodulation, I guess. Recognizing Carol N9CXK, you made it here first. And do we have anybody else? Come now, please.
Whiskey Bravo 9. Bravo Whiskey Papa. Kilo Sierra, Niner, Quebec.
All right, got two more. Excuse me. Recognizing Dave WB9BWP and Jim KS9Q. Welcome to the net. Do we have anybody else? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. Well, I've got to say, so far the radio's behaving. I don't know what changed. I said last month it behaved the whole net, so I wouldn't replace the tube, which I planned on doing. I could have done it, but I held off, and it seems to be working. But we'll see how long that lasts. If there's any hiccups, I'll try to make time to change it, though now I probably won't get time to do it. And not too much else to report. As always, just very busy here. Project Jeep is coming together. Had a lot of hiccups, a lot of unexpected problems. Well, I will never buy a vehicle from Florida ever again. I've never had a vehicle with so many different parts that were wrong. Not just wrong. Well, there's wrong parts. Everything is bad. Every part on it is bad. It doesn't help that whoever converted it to a different model year did a really lousy job, I think. I guess I've seen worse, but it's not good. But it runs pretty good now. I had an incident. Excuse me. I installed a electric choke on the carburetor because it came with a hot air choke, and the vehicle did not have a heat stove. And I've never used a hot air choke. I always wanted to play with them because I always thought that was a better way to go. So I put the electric choke on there from a different carburetor from the same manufacturer for some reason, thinking that it should work. It fit, so it should work, you'd think. But I could not get it adjusted to work properly for anything. It was driving me up a wall. So I took it apart again and figured out why. Well, on the carburetor that had the electric choke, even though it's the same manufacturer and the same time period, the choke operation goes counterclockwise, where on the other one it goes clockwise, so parts are not interchangeable. But I was determined to make the hot air choke work after that, and I did something that I wonder if anybody else has ever done. I've got this copper, nickel, iron, whatever it is, they call it conifer or whatever, brake tubing that seems to be mostly copper. It transfers heat very well, or it conducts heat very well. And I hooked that up to the hot air choke, and I wrapped it around the exhaust pipe about 1.5 turns. I planned to get 3 turns, but I miscalculated, and I got 1.5 turns, and believe it or not, it works extremely well. No heat stove required. I mean, we haven't had cold enough yet outside to say for sure that it works, but I can't imagine it'll be any different. It's doing a very good job. Surprisingly good. And the only thing amateur radio-wise I can report, not anything significant, I have 3 guy wires on the antenna that I use right now for this net. And 2 of them are anchored to my shop building. One of them is anchored to the garden shed. And the anchor to the garden shed pulled out of the wood. The wood is rotting. And when we had all that wind the last time, it pulled it right out. So I added some wood, re-anchored it. It's probably stronger than ever, and possibly stronger than the anchors on the shop building. So back in business. Oddly, even in high winds, it's not going anywhere. It flops around like crazy, but I guess the materials are probably approaching 15 years old. But it seems to not break. It flops around in the wind a lot and doesn't matter. I suppose it wouldn't be good transmitting to have it moving around like that. But the guys do help. It's rock solid when those are on there. Anyway, we'll go to the top of the list. Carol, N9CXK, welcome to the net. It's your turn. See if you have some more interesting topics than me. Go ahead and take it away, Carol.
KC9UDX and the net, N9CXK. Well, I don't. I haven't been doing too much here either. A lot of fall work outside, but I'm still... We just went the other day and bought another $150 worth of plants, so I'm busy working on those, getting them in the ground here. So hands and knees, so I'm using the heating pad a lot on my knees now. But yeah, that's outside stuff. Boat's still in the water. We're still going to take a few more rides before they come and get it in a week or 2. Oh, I'm afraid I don't have anywhere near your vast knowledge of automotive. But, boy, that sounds interesting. The whole choke situation, yeah, I think on my 88 Ranger, I have an electric choke. But every so often it gets stuck, I guess. And luckily my brother told me this. The choke gets stuck, doesn't want to come off fast idle, which is kind of nice with a manual transmission sometimes, but you don't want to leave it that way, so I have to stop and disconnect the battery and then reconnect it, and then the choke goes back and it resets. So that's got to be an electric choke, and I don't know how that works, but at least I know how to fix it. Yeah, the copper tubing. that sounds like an excellent way to do that. And yeah, it's really good heat transfer. You'll get most of that heat from the exhaust pipe pretty quickly up to the choke body there. That sounds very smart, really smart. Ham radio. I've been spending a lot of time on 15 meters. My R7 vertical that I have it up out behind my garage, and in the last few weeks I got speed line installed. I have 120 feet of half-inch hard line that goes down a pipe chase from my shack down into the basement, and then it goes through the brick wall on the side of the building into the crawl space, and up through the crawl space and under my deck outside, pops out. I run it along the rock wall and then up another rock wall up to the garden behind the garage. And that's where the R7 vertical is. And the antenna was tuned up really very well. It was really tuned up well when I was on the driveway, away from everything. But now that I put it up in the garden, it had some trees and branches around it. The ground, or the decoupling radials were too close to my fountain in the garden. I got it up in the air about 6 feet higher and trimmed a lot of the branches. And most of the bands came in pretty good except 40 meters. 40 meters was way out of whack. And I had adjusted it to the specs on the antenna sheet. Well, that was a mistake. So it took me taking that antenna up and down about 5 times. Standing on the top of the 6-foot step ladder, pulling the antenna out, balancing it until I could get it down and lay it over on the ground. And I did that. I probably did that 5 or 6 times. Finally got the 40-meter section tuned in about the right area of band for me. So that's up. It's really only about maybe 15 feet off the ground, and it's in some trees, but it works and it loads up, and in a lot of situations it is the better antenna, better than my wires. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's all done before winter, and the cable's all in and everything, so I'm pretty excited. And then I proceeded to uncoil my 160-meter off-center fed antenna that I had in the garage, and I got my big step ladder out, and extension ladder, and put hooks in the trees all around the yard about 40 feet up, 35 to 40 feet up. And I have strings with insulators and another loop on them, and I ran the 160-meter off-center fed through all of those, all the way around the yard. Had to pull it this way and that way a little bit to get the feed point to a point where I could actually use it to get it into the house surreptitiously, which I did. So that's 265 feet of wire out there. It's in a U-shaped configuration, and that just fits on my lots here. So kind of exciting. It does. I don't know. It was perfect on 1.9 megahertz when I took it down, and now it's tuned up to like 2 megahertz or 2 point something. I don't know why. I don't know how it got shorter, but it's in a a horseshoe configuration instead of being straight. Not as high as it was. I just kind of threw up my hands and I said, no, I'm not prepared to start screwing with this. So it's where it is, but my internal tuner in the radio takes care of it just fine. And that indicates to me that it's not totally out of whack. So I can listen and I can talk on 160 meters. Probably don't have a lot of range, but yeah, it works. So pretty exciting. Now, the only drawback is the enormous amounts of noise that come out of my house on 160 meters. So though. I kind of identified what things they are, and I just have to make sure they're turned off before I get on the air. Yes, I'm going to use that band. But that's all learning. And then somebody says, well, let's go out and just add some wire to that antenna. I said, yeah, I know. It's just a lot of dicking around, and I don't know how much time I want to spend on it. But I mean, I have plenty of the wire. I can go out and do that at any time I want to. I just don't know that I want to. If that radio tunes it, well, heck with that for now. The other thing, Matt, is that on the auction site, or the want ads on the internet, there's a guy selling a very nice Hallicrafters SR42A transceiver. Totally working. Says it's in good shape. It looks great. Even comes with 3 transmit crystals. I don't know if I want to bite on something like that or not. I guess it would just be for once a month. I don't know that it's worth it. It's not real expensive, and it's a piece of history. I don't know. Probably be a lot of fun. You can tell me if you think that sounds like something. So, if you know what an SR42 is, I think you probably do, and it looks interesting. N9CXK, back to net control.
And 9CXK from KC9UDX. Fine business. I don't know for sure what an SR42A is, but possibly that's what I had here. And I had 2 of them, gave them to Gary W9TOF. But it does sound like fun. I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun running an older transmitter and receiver like this. And it never gets old. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, though. I don't like newer stuff at all. So, the older the better. And you're lucky that you can control your noise on 160. For me, I don't have so much noise radiating from inside my house. I can turn everything off here, and most of my noise is coming from my neighbors, and I'm not exactly sure which or where, or if it's all of them or what. But maybe that's changed. I haven't even listened on 160 in 10 years. Maybe everybody got new TVs that aren't as noisy. I don't know. And how much wire can you add to improve it? It's so close to the ground anyway. I don't know. I'm still baffled at how I was able to operate on 160. I had reconfigured my wire dipole to be a top-loaded vertical, and I can't exactly recall how I did that. Maybe if I ever get that antenna back up again, I should make that a priority to try to do that again, try to replicate that. And like you were saying, I didn't have a whole lot of range, but it was fun. I could talk to local people. No problem. But yeah, there's just a ton of noise on 160. And that electric choke is probably not specifically an electric choke. Typically when a standard electric choke gets stuck, it's a mechanical problem, but what you're having is clearly not a mechanical problem if disconnecting the battery and reconnecting it solves it. I don't know much about 88 Ford Rangers. I used to have to work on one, and I think that one was fuel injected, but I don't recall. But in 1988, I would expect there's a computer, and it's probably got a feedback carburetor, which is a really good thing. They typically get better fuel economy than fuel injection, and are a lot more reliable. But I would suggest that the computer is probably enabling the choke, which is a good thing normally. The The problem with a standard electric choke is, unless you make extra provisions, when you turn the key on, it's heating up that electric choke whether the engine is running or not. And so they mitigate that by either having an oil pressure switch, or even better, a computer that only energizes the choke when it needs to. And your computer is probably getting stuck. And of course, you could probably, if you can find a replacement computer and it's feasible, you could replace that and it would probably solve that problem. But it's probably not easy to find, and it's probably not worth spending the money. But if you wanted to fix the problem, what you could do is just wire it up as a standard electric choke. Just run fused positive 12 volts right to the choke. It has to be switched by your ignition, of course. And then just remember not to leave the ignition turned on when you're not running the engine. Otherwise the choke will open prematurely and you'll have a hard time getting going till the engine warms up. But that's how all electric chokes used to be. I've never been a fan of electric chokes. They seem to not, the heat in the choke from the electric coil heating coil does not really correspond with engine temperature very well. And then you have all the other problems like having to wire it up to an oil pressure switch or whatever. So I've typically always used a manual choke, but a hot air choke really is the way to go. I always thought that operates directly in correspondence with the engine temperature. I guess the problem is the exhaust could still kind of be hot when the rest of the engine is cooling. But in that situation, when the exhaust is still hot, I don't think you really need the choke anymore anyway. Like I say, I've never used a hot air choke. I've always just thought that was the way to go. And I won't be driving this vehicle much, but I'm sure I'll hear about it if it doesn't work. Anyway, next we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Well, good evening, everyone. I remember in my much younger days living in apartments and such, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to get a garage. I can take care of my car. I can work on it and stuff. Yeah, I don't even change the oil anymore. I haven't done any real work on a car in probably over 20 years at least. Of course, now, if I were to try to get down underneath it, I'd need a couple of guys to help me get back up. But, hey, that's a whole nother situation. In the radio world, yeah, I've been working on antennas too. I probably should have done it a little more than I did, since they keep talking about rain now over the next week or so. As everything decided, yeah, it's time to have some work done on it. The vertical started acting up. The tree ate a chunk of my off-center fed wire. That's the second time I've done that, maybe third time. In a little over a year, I raised the feed point up, and that made routing the one side of it coming out of the tree different, and it's obviously a lot more grinding taking place. But I think I know how to reroute it yet again, and that should take care of it. But as a result, I'm kind of like out of antennas right now. I got an infit that I put up last year just because everybody else was talking about it. And, yeah, let's see what it does. And I actually don't think it works as good as my off-center fit. Because when the center hood was actually all in one piece. Anyway, I've got an inverted L on 160 that feeds off of the vertical. It shares the feed point, shares the radial. It goes up 33 feet, goes out 96. And I got 46 states worked on voice, add 2 more with FD8. I've never even heard Alaska or Hawaii. And I forget. I got like 8 or 10 countries worked. And I've always been amazed at that. Stand by just a moment. If you want to see how good your stuff works or what condition the band is in or anything like that, there's a station in Missouri that every Saturday night, I'm not sure what time it starts, 7, 8 o'clock maybe even earlier, and it runs till like 4 in the morning. This guy plays every ham audio news type thing, like a Newsline, ARL audio news, I think he says QSO Today. Anyway, he plays all of those things over and over again all night long. And so I tune over there, and sometimes it's like listening to broadcast radio, and sometimes I can barely hear them. So anyway, there's I guess a good way to test. I don't know who this guy is. And, when he identifies, he throws out the name of local clubs and stuff, but still. He must have an old broadcast transmitter or something. That he's running it for hours and hours. And it doesn't flinch. This Saturday, MRAC meeting. The program is the N3 SAP logging software that I happen to be using right now. And I guess it is now in the space. You get to see the space that the store carved out of the warehouse there to continue to have testing and club meetings and things like that. Since the classroom is gone and the garage is gone, and a bunch of the warehouse behind the classroom, that's all gone with the new owners. So we'll have to see what that looks like and how well that's going to work out. Anyway, that's enough for this round. So I'll send it back to that. This is WP9BWP.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Fine business. I would like to go to the meeting, but I think that's not going to happen. If the weather is good, I'm going to be outside working, but I don't even know if I'll get an opportunity to do that anyway. I don't know what the schedule is. My daughter is in band at school, specifically color guard, and they're having a state competition this weekend. So everything will revolve around that. And I gotta say, that inverted L, that sounds very impressive. 30 feet up, 96 feet over, that to me is very impressive. And of course, 46 states, that's impressive. I'd be lucky to get one other state. Excuse me. I don't have a good way to do something like that. And that guy doing the broadcasting, I have heard that. He's been doing that a long time. Also heard of a lot of people complaining about that, and I don't know what the complaint is. Other than that, he's doing it and they're not, or whatever. I don't know. I can't think of a good reason to complain about it. You know, it probably would be a good way to tell how well your station works in that direction, but that's about it. I've had so many times where I can't hear somebody, but I can very well hear somebody, you know, three azimuth degrees away or something. But I suppose in most cases that's probably okay. Well, I guess I'm in a situation where I have to work on cars. I like old cars. I don't like new cars at all. So I only have old cars, but I don't have the kind of old cars that old car people like working on. So I've got to do everything. I don't have a choice. No, none of the places I knew of that even would work on the stuff that I have. You know, I never could afford to do that. But if I could afford to do it, I don't think any of them are around anymore anyway. All that's left is places that want to do insurance work on new cars, warranty work, and guys that want to work on collector classic cars. Nobody that wants to work on anything in between. So at least for the foreseeable future, I'll be doing all that stuff myself. And with that, next we'll go to Jim, KS9Q from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX and the net. This is KS9Q. Good evening to all. And copying everybody real well tonight. I am running the Icon 705 into the amplifier, and so far it is looking pretty clean. And I pushed a button that I shouldn't have here. Let me make a small adjustment. That adjustment started me flat topping. So, anyway, just kind of recuperating this week. I had a little minor surgery last week, Tuesday, and all recovered from that. Just letting things heal up a bit. I had a couple of days off of work, and found some stuff to amuse myself with. I actually got a chance to do a little bit of satellite chasing, and was able to successfully copy the Russian RS-44 satellite. Had a contact through the space station, and so that was enjoyable. I want to do a little bit more of that. I actually heard a Parks on the Air station doing some work through a satellite, so that was kind of cool. Let's see what else. Not too much else to report. Doing some cleanup in my basement. Took some stuff to Vinny's, threw some stuff out, reorganized a bunch of stuff, and currently working on a linear amplifier for a guy. Had a couple of problems, not too difficult to fix, and hopefully try to have that done by the end of the week. And other than that, that's about all I got this go on. Back to net. This is KS9Q.
All right, thank you, Jim. Fine business. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. And that's interesting on the satellite stuff. I've never ever gotten into that. But that doesn't mean I won't ever. I don't know. And I also know absolutely nothing about Parks on the Air. I've always been confused about that stuff, but I guess that's just because I haven't read up enough about it. And you mentioned the linear amplifier, so I turned mine on, because when you mentioned that, it occurred to me, since my antenna is down and since I never operate on HF anymore, I never turn that thing on anymore, and it probably should be turned on every now and then. So I turned it on, and it's reading about 2800 volts on the plates, and slowly rising. But we are at the bottom of the list. Excuse me. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please.
This is November 9, Foxtrot, Sierra Echo, and Guest.
All right, got one more, recognizing N9FSE, Steve and Guest. Do we have anybody else? Come now, please.
Net Control. This is the Guest. November India 9 Echo.
All right. Recognizing and welcoming NI9E. And do we have anybody else? Come now, please. All right, hearing none, we'll go first to Steve, N9FSE, from KC9UDX.
Well, we're happy to join the net once again. I don't know, they must have ran out of some gas last month, and it wasn't to be getting ready for other events and whatnot, I suppose. Or I forgot the radio or something happened. I got no excuse for last month, but happy to be back after a month's break, and hopefully we won't miss November as well. Fans not running here, so that's good, but we did catch a couple of dead mice in the trap, which we released to the wild, and reset those for the next visitors. Reminds me of the ski hill. We had a few dead mice there, but from different causes. Some club members like to use the poison, I guess, there. So that's like, oh well, whatever works. You know, he's ended up just a wee bit stinky, but at least got that behind us. He was copying a lot of the last transmissions. I don't know if I have everyone, but I didn't copy too many signal meters here. But we got Jim at 20 to 30. Good to hear he's recuperating nice and very good on the satellite stuff. Reminds me of the ISS passes lately with the slow scan going on. And we heard a fair bit from Dave, but we were still Dave and Carol. We were still messing with mice running around, and was sort of like the background stuff. And we had left Jeff to listen to stuff here and some of your stuff in between there, Matt. So we do know that we have Dave and Carol out here, so I don't know if I got everybody with that, so that's pretty neat. And very good on all the antenna work on everybody's front. It sounds like everybody's doing some of that, except for me. I got to string one wire yet to a NFED, get that ready for fall use and winter use. And if I get off my butt enough, maybe I get the loop on ground going as well, which has got plans for. But oh yeah, I do have notes here for you, man. 20 to 30 over. S9 no preamp. Carol, we had a 10 over. Dave, I missed unfortunately, and like I said, Jim, we had a 20 to 30 over. And giving the grand tour out here at the site, and happy to have my friend Jeff with me. So that's the other distraction I got going on here. We're going over the fine Chinese radios that are out, and I brought along for show and tell, and that's that and ski season. Ski season's coming front and center. We've been spending a lot of time at the ski-o, and I end up with as many regular work projects as electronics projects lately. I got a power supply to square up. I got a couple of ski areas I got to working on with the radios have most of the features built in. All we need is a nice switch closure, and we can have that stuff up and running. And then, of course, some reprogramming. Yay! There's the whirlwind tour from New Berlin, and we did put the message out on West Side, but I don't know if we scared it. Apparently, we didn't scare anyone up, but there's always hope. With that, we'll send it back up to net and send it over to Jeff, N-I-9-E, after that. But over to you, Matt. N-I-F-S-E. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. My wife and I happened to be driving past the site there yesterday, I think, and I had to point it out. She had no idea what I was talking about. Excuse me. And, well, your signal is up. Everybody else seems to be a little bit down. And I noticed the noise floor is a lot higher than normal. Carol, on a scale of 0 to 10, you're 7.5. Dave, you're 6. Jim, you're always 10. And Steve, you're up at 8. Normally you're only 7. So I don't quite know what to make of that. But I usually don't. It's usually strange. And then we'll go to Jeff N-I-9E from KC9UDX. Go ahead.
Thank you, and hello to everybody on the net tonight. It's been eons and eons since I've been on a net. Steve, how long did I used to be the net control Monday nights on the Wisconsin sideband traffic net, probably for 20 years, probably close to that, and so it's been a long time. Just recently retired a year ago, 30 years in at St. Luke's as a nurse, so I'm trying to get used to being retired, and hopefully now that I don't have to worry about medications and IVs and tests and things like that, I can turn my interest back to ham radio. And I met Steve back at UWM back in our college days, back in the early 1980s, and I'm just thinking, holy cow, Steve and I have been hams for 40 years. So with that, I'll send it back to you, and everybody have a good evening at I-9E.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Fine business. And, well, 40 years wasn't that long ago anymore. I've only been licensed for 15, 16 years. No. Well, probably almost 15. It'll be 15 in a couple of months here. And, well, I wonder if you've ever been on an AM net. Probably not. Most people have not. At least most people these days. But here we are. We've been doing this for well over 10 years now. Changed it up quite a bit. I don't remember how it started out, but it was definitely not on the second Tuesday of the month on 145.7. It was somewhere else at a different time. And that changed quite a bit, but here we are. And it's been this way for a good long time. A lot of people come and gone. Dave WB9BWP has been here most of the time. And then lots of other people, like I say, have come and gone. But we're at the bottom of the list again. Let's see if we have any more last-minute check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none. Well, we'll do the 7-3 round. But as always, there's no rush. Talk as long as you like. And we'll go back to the top of the list. Carol, it's your turn on the 7-3 round, N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net, N9CXK. Okay, well good. I think that's pretty great. 45 minutes just for the first round. That's okay. Got people with real things to talk about. I like it. I guess first thing was Steve. You were at UWM in the early 80s. I graduated UWM in 81. Started working and I just retired last November. So I'm doing well there. I haven't figured this retirement thing out yet, but maybe in another year or so I can figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. But this is it's kind of fun. I don't know that I like to concentrate on all these home projects, but I guess that's what I am meant to do now. I am I'm running 10 watts tonight into my amplifier, and the amplifier is getting hot. So that's a good sign. That's all I know. Don't have a power meter on the amplifier, but it's a 160 watt amplifier, and we decided that 810 watts going in would be correct for AM. And like I said, after I talked for a little while, it's getting pretty warm, so that sounds pretty positive there. What else were you talking about? Oh, ski season's coming up, so that means you got your refresher coming up pretty soon, Steve. I imagine refresher and chairlift evacuation and first aid and CPR and all that. I mean, when I got out of ski patrol, we were already practically EMTs with the training we were getting. So I imagine it's pretty thorough these days. That's a good thing. There's obviously a lot of responsibility there. I guess we all felt that, but it didn't bother us much at that time. And what else is going on here? I don't know. Yeah, I was saying 15 meters. 15 meters has been pretty nice. Talked to some guys on AM, 15 meters AM, right at the top of the band. That was kind of fun. And then talked to some other people around the band, and I've been in checked in the Pacific Maritime net a couple times. That's out. Well, they have net controls all over the country because it's 15 meters and it's supposed to cover the Pacific. So they take all kinds of check-ins, and that's fun because I usually check in there a handful of times during the summer from my boat out here, and I have to explain. I said, well, I'm not on the boat today. I'm on land, but I thought I'd check in. So that's kind of fun. And yeah, Dave, that vertical sounds, or your 160 meter antenna sounds very nice. I mean, I have all that wire here. I've got 265 feet of wire out there. So I suppose you said you use the vertical and then you attach the horizontal section to the vertical. I don't know if you're using a vertical antenna that's used for other things, or you were talking about the vertical section is 33 feet and then 90 feet over. That's probably more like what it was. But that sounds great. Yeah, I haven't really experimented with mine, although I have been listening to guys. They have get-togethers in the evenings on the East Coast. I mean, I'm listening to 1 and 2 and 3 stations, so I can hear them. The guy that used to always play. Well, I remember a station playing the rain report for sure. I always thought he was in Ohio. I thought they were in Ohio. They were around 1860. I used to hear that. But if this guy plays it for hours and hours, I don't know. But Missouri should be no problem for me to hear that. So I'll have to give a listen. Yeah, Saturday night, I listened to the Fusion stuff on 145.39, and then after that it's just kind of tooling around. So been listening to Ed on 3913. He's still going, but he doesn't stay up so late anymore. He's getting fairly old, and he's only on till about 9:30, something like that. He's the guy up in Phillips that has two 80-meter quads on two separate 200-foot towers. So I can't even imagine, but he always puts it on like a 20-over signal down here. I guess that's probably what he's and he has the amplifiers and everything. Can't compete with that. Don't intend to, but it's kind of fun to listen to him. He rattles a lot of cages, but doesn't seem to be a totally bad guy. He's just loud, that's all. And Jim, I'm sorry you had to have surgery, but I'm glad it's over. And you sound pretty great. So that'll be good. And that's probably why you have a little time here this week to work on the amplifier. All I can say is cover up and ground things. That's all I can say. Kind of the same when I was working for the power company. Cover up and ground things. So, I put my elbow down on a plate cap once. It was a crystal that was almost embedded in the wall behind me. I will never forget that. I guess I am told by Matt that this is a 73 round. So everybody, take care. Have a great night. Have a great rest of the week. And be looking for you in a month. N9CXK 73, everybody.
All right, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Carol. Say 7-3 to you. And I'll tell you what, I have no problem working on high voltage stuff. Safely, of course. But what bothers me working on stuff like that here at home is it's like when you're working on something high voltage, all of a sudden all the space around you, it gets closer. It seems like there's less room to move. And I don't like that. I'd like a little bit more open space to work. But I haven't done that in a while, and I don't think I've ever worked on anything over 1200 volts here. I've never worked on that amplifier. I had it apart and reattached some components that for some reason the person I bought it from detached, and put it together, and it works. But I haven't worked on it. And I guess at 3000 volts I would start getting a little more nervous here. Maybe, maybe not. And next, Dave, it's your turn on the 7-3 round. WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
I don't know if there's any particular noise or anything here tonight. It's not dead quiet, but it's not bad. And everybody's playing good, copy everyone, and that's always good. The inverted L that I have, I've got a butternut vertical, covers 80 through 6. except for 60 meters, and I'll get to that in a minute. I read about a guy that added some PVC to the top of the vertical to take care of the vertical wire for the... I tried doing that, but unless you have about 4 people that try to raise it all at one time, it bends really bad. So what I did was I have 33 feet or so of those military fiberglass tubes, about 1.5 foot away from the vertical, and the wire goes up and out from them, and it connects to the feed point of the vertical antenna. And just by natural resonances, it takes care of the switching. Now, I added yet another, on the other side of the vertical, I added, following the same proportion, I put up an inverted L for 60 meters. So that only goes up about, I think it's 11 feet up and then out for, I can't remember the number. But I fired it up, and I think my first contact was with Cuba. So I figured, okay, I guess that works too. So they share the radio and the feed point of the regular vertical antenna. So there's just one coax going out there, and the radio is about 1,300 feet of wire in the ground. But the vertical started acting up a few weeks ago, and so right now it's laying on the ground because I started working on it on Sunday. I was hoping to go out tomorrow, but they're talking about rain tonight in the morning. And, well, I guess I have to see how much we actually get and how wet the ground is. Stand by just a moment. I don't go into the menu and turn off the timer, so I still have the 3-minute timer inside the radio here. What else? I have not much else. Because of all that, I haven't done any particular operating of anything of value. I copied the slow scan from the space station, whenever that was, a few months ago. I cheated in using SDR, and that is the software for that, which has record functions in it, the timer function. So I go through, find the passes, set up the recording, just like in the old days of the VCR. And then later on at my leisure, I play those back and feed it through the decoding software. And I got a couple of good pictures. I was using, I ended up using my regular antenna, the antenna I'm talking on right now, which is a 17-foot stick and 33 feet up. So that's got a fairly low angle window on the antenna. It's not the best for copying that, so even the good pictures, I get a little bit of noise every once in a while. But I switched between that and the disco, and I've got outside for one of the passes, and that was giving me the better signal, so I went with that. I guess that covers everything here. Like I said, club meeting is Saturday, back at the regular time, 10 a.m. And that's always tough for me, because I've been retired for a few years. Or if you ask my wife, a whole lot longer. That came from a number of years of working for myself. So sometimes I felt like I was retired. Anyway, 73 to everybody that's out here this evening. And I always announce in that too. I'm on the Mosey Net usually Monday nights. I announce it there. I always warn all the guys that I won't be on the rookie net, so it'll go much faster. Anyhow, 73 to everybody out there. This is WB9 BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. We'll say 7-3 to you. And yeah, you really never know what the weather's going to be anymore. They say it's going to rain a little bit, and it rains all day. They say it's not going to rain at all, and then it rains. I don't know. Not sure if it's getting worse or if it's my imagination. Probably my imagination. I distinctly remember around 20 years ago driving to work in my Jeep and leaving the top at home because there would be no rain in the forecast for the entire week. So Monday it would be no problem. I would drive to work. And then I would be getting home and the sky would turn black. I couldn't tell you how many times this happened. And I would be about a block and a half away from home when it just utterly started pouring. I would get completely drenched. That happened multiple times. And I'll tell you what, you know, you think it's like being on a motorcycle, I guess. A lot of people tell me this, you know, so it rains and it's irritating, but you deal with it. The difference is in the Jeep, you get rain on the inside of the windshield and you absolutely cannot see. There's no way to deal with that unless you have time and patience to put the windshield down, I guess. Anyway, we'll go next to Jim, KS9Q. It is your turn on the 7-3 round.
Okay. Well, it's good hearing everybody tonight. I had a pretty good copy all the way around. Good signals tonight. And I'm just running a recording on this with the other radio just to see how the audio is, because that's the only way I can listen to it after the fact. So everybody have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you all next month. Enjoy the fall as we get into it here. 7-3. Back to net. This is KS9Q.
All right, thank you, Jim. We'll say 7-3 to you. And you can always listen to yourself on the YouTube stream here tomorrow. The problem being with that is that I'm using I'm using the internal speaker in this radio, which is not the best speaker, and it rattles. That's something I could have done when I had time to put the tube in the radio, and I didn't. I could have made the wire longer and hook up the big speaker again, but I did not. Oh well, someday, maybe. And next we'll go to Steve, N9FSE. It's your turn on the 7-3 round from KC9UDX.
Alright, man, good deal. I've been missing out on a lot of polka shows too with all the stuff going on in ski areas. Had a division convention early in September, so that kept me out of trouble there. And kept visiting the Fox Hill for little projects and leading the big projects. We're out on the River Beaver every Sunday yet, so at least I get some good sunshine, some fresh air here and there more than just the hill alone. And that's been great fun. And and Carol, you know all it is that patrol season. I went to one refresher, which is the commercial ski area refresher, just so I could be up to date on our new online report system, which we found out everything we learned we can scrap because we're going to have a different new online report system. After stuff there. And then I still got my refresher to get through, which will be in a couple Saturdays. I think that's or next Saturday. The Saturday after this one, I think. It's the right Saturday, so I got to get my studies done on that stuff. And then we got, I also got, that reminds me, I got a schedule for my chairlift evac training like you mentioned, so we'll get it all in. I got my opportunities for that. And at Fox Hill, I don't have to worry about chairlift evac training because we don't have a chairlift. So we just say, let go of the rope and ski away. And even more talk from Dave about the butternut. Oh, that sounds great. I keep pondering. I got some Hustler 5B TV I probably should get up, or some other things. But at least since spring, it's nice to have a little bit of nice head-fed 9-to-1 action at the house and feeding my brother's flex. So that's always just a treat to tune across. I'm amazed at how good it is, but I still pick up some noise from the neighborhood in my house, even though I try to scare some of that out. What you gonna do? And Jim, good to hear you yet again, and like I say, good on recuperating there, super business, and the fun work with all that stuff. We were in between it all. I pulled out the 10H3 and showed Jeff that stuff to keep him up to date on some of these fine Chinesiums that are out there, as well as a Texan PL368. And it's just amazing what you can get for not so much, and they perform respectively in most cases, so that's not so bad. Lots of fun with radio. And my TID, that was good fun too. I got it at South Milwaukee for $20, so, and doing the box. So figured I didn't want to pay more than that. If I could find it for that or less, I'd pick one up and did. So I should see if it does AM aircraft. I should see if it does AM on 145 700 here. That might be a fun test as well. I know I got it in a lot of my. Actually, I might have it programmed in here. So I'll do that and send it back up to Matt. So don't know if I'll be here for a post 73 round, but we'll keep our ears attuned for things right after close. This is N9FSE. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. We'll say 7-3 to you. The only Chinese radio I've got is inoperable. I mean, the radio itself works. It's a handheld. Excuse me. And it's got a battery that they took a standard battery from some other manufacturer, but they modified it. So I cannot get a battery that works on that radio anymore. I can run it off of a power supply, and I could probably rig up an external battery somehow, but I cannot use it the way it was intended to be used. You can see it on my YouTube video called "Oh, please change the battery," because that's pretty much what it says. It talks, and it's ridiculous. And next we'll go to Jeff, NI9E. It's your turn on the 7-3 round from KC9UDX.
Thanks for the last go-around here. Yeah, I just was thinking back in the day when we first got started and handheld technology was new and budding, and I was just, we couldn't afford the cool radios, so we got the knockoffs. And when I don't know how many other radios before it came out I had, but the Yaesu FT727, the dual band handheld, it was the cutting edge of its time. But Steve and I were just talking that was hundreds of dollars, and now he's showing me, what's this, a TID radio? Yeah. A TID radio. $25 radio. Yeah, $25, and it can do more than you ever would think, and it's got more than 10 memories on it, too, like the old one. That was yeah. Oh, at our old club station at the UW, what was it, the UWM Amateur Radio Society, we had a Yaesu FT or 227. The memorizer had one channel, plus or minus 5 kc if you push the yellow button. Boy, that's hard to remember, but yeah. Then we had the VIC-20. That was a big thing back then with the cassette recorder to program this thing. Anywho, nice to meet everybody listening around tonight for the net. I think I do have a radio that does 2 meter AM, but I have to find it. I haven't seen it since I put the nursing books away years ago. And another 4 week, second Tuesday. I hope to hear everybody again out in the air. So back to net control, NI9E.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Fine business. Say 7-3 to you. And you mentioned the VIC-20. I suppose you're not watching the YouTube feed for this and that. Maybe you're unaware, because I didn't explain it, but I do simulcast this net on YouTube, mostly so that if somebody is out of range, they can hear me on YouTube, and usually they've got a better antenna than I've got, so I can hear them. It works pretty well. But I have a VIC-20 running that video. I've got a handful of details about the net on the screen, and a background image live image of the station here. I don't know if seems to be live, but I don't see anything changing. Anyway, I did notice something tonight that YouTube is doing that it never did before, which is interesting. It tells you how much lag there is. I used to have to measure it, and now it just tells you. Right now we have 5, 6, and 7 seconds lag. It seems to always be around 5 seconds. In the early days when we were doing this stuff, it could be up to a minute. But it has gotten much lower. Some of that may be the improvements I've done to my network here, but on the other hand, probably not. I look up and I think about it here. I've got a switch that I need to put in here. I think we're running, might be 100 base T, maybe only 10 base T from here to the rest of my network, but I also see a lot of collisions. That's not good. But anyway, I've got a new switch to replace that one that runs 1000 base T. Just haven't put it in yet. It's been waiting for months. But this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to rag chew on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the... I wonder if my calendar here is wrong. It says 8th of October, and we're clearly not on the 8th. 12th of November. Were we supposed to be on the 8th? And I missed it? I don't think so. No, the 8th was a Wednesday. So we're on the right day. My calendar's wrong, but we will meet next month on the 12th of November. Until then, this is KC9UDX73, and good night.
You and that Gregorian calendar.
Yeah. It could be. That could be the problem.
Have a good night, Matt. Thank you very much. It was really enjoyable tonight. N9CXK. And Dave.
Yes?
When you say you're using the feed point from your vertical, so you have the 33-foot fiberglass pole with a wire on it. So the wire at the bottom of the fiberglass pole is just jumpered over to the bottom of the butternut, right?
Correct. The butternut has a screw that picks up the center conductor's coax anyway, and that same screw I connect the two inverted L's to.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. That butternut, that must be like the Cushcraft here with a fiberglass or something insulator in that bottom to insulate the actual ground stake from the rest.
Yeah, there's a lower tube that goes into the ground and a chunk of fiberglass and the rest of the antenna on top of that. And there's a bolt in that bottom tube that picks up the shield and radial, and then a bolt in the above the fiberglass that picks up the center conductor.
Very cool. Yes. So the 60-meter section is the same thing. Wire attaches, only goes up 11 feet. I was thinking about this in my head. So you still got to have about 90 feet of wire horizontal for the 60 meters?
No, it's not much.